This is Tim Scott, and today I'm interviewing my friend Brian about a interaction that he had with a healthcare provider. So Brian, describe what worked about your interactions with the healthcare providers.
That's a good question. I guess one of the things that worked well was the communication among the different doctors, because as you know, if it hadn't been for the communication between the doctors and them reevaluating everything that happened, I would have had to go in for a nasty surgery that I ended up not having to go in for. So I guess communication within the healthcare system was helpful. I wish they would have let me know that they were doing that, but so I wouldn't have had a day of stress unnecessarily, but their communication, I would say, worked well.
Great. Describe what challenges you had.
Right off the top, I can think of one that is probably one of the most important ones to me, and that was when I first went in. I went into urgent care, and I had a discomfort in my chest, and I explained that to them, and apparently they didn't think anything of that or didn't hear what I said. So I ended up sitting there for hours before they saw me, and then when they did, everything took off, and all of a sudden it was an emergency. In the end it worked out okay, but I think had they listened more carefully and paid attention to what I was trying to explain to them, what was going on, that maybe things would have happened faster. And had it really been critical at the time, that might have been a life-saving event had they paid more attention.
Right. And then finally, what would you do different next time?
I wouldn't sit there quietly for hours. I would probably be a little bit more vocal, saying, hey, I don't know what this is. It could be serious. Can someone check maybe more quickly? Instead of just going with whatever they say. And, I kind of did that throughout the whole thing. And I know a little bit more about the situation now and have more information to say, but, maybe ask more questions and get more information ahead of time so I can help make decisions for myself rather than sit there and let them do things for me and not tell me.
Right. When you said for the first question that you wish that they would have communicated more with you, what do you mean by that?
Well, I would like to know what's going on. If you're in the hospital, I'm laying there. I didn't even know that they were, talking on, this was on a Sunday. I didn't know that they were talking on Sunday and they had plans to get together Monday morning and review things. I didn't know they were doing that. So I laid there all night Sunday thinking I'm going in for this surgery on Monday morning and not even knowing that there was a chance. Well, I know maybe they don't want to get your hopes up or whatever the case may be, but I just want to know what's going on. And I felt a little bit in the dark after the fact Monday when I found out that all this was going on and I had no idea.
Okay. When you were describing some of the challenges that you had with them communicating some of these issues with you, how did that make you feel?
At the time, I knew no different. Learning after the fact, it kind of makes me question their competence a little bit, that, they didn't know to ask questions or they weren't paying attention. It made me feel like, maybe it wasn't important to them, even though in the end it ended up being a pretty major event. I worry that somebody else might go in with the same thing and go through the same problem. What if they're, really in a critical stage of that? It could cost someone their life. So, it kind of scares me and makes me think that maybe some of the people they had working when I first went in were incompetent.
Right. Knowing what you know now after going through your experience, how would you describe to those healthcare providers to maybe improve communication with their patients?
First and foremost, just make sure the patient knows what's going on all the time. Be available to answer questions and know that the patient's going to have questions because they don't know everything that the doctor knows. So, sometimes I feel like the doctor is assuming that you know some of the basic things, and, I don't. I don't work in healthcare, and, I don't know that a certain procedure involves sawing through bone. When I found that out, that was kind of, I had maybe some anxiety all of a sudden that they could have discussed a little bit better and maybe prepared me for that instead of learning from someone who read it on the internet.
Absolutely. So I think in conclusion here, I think what I'm really getting from you from this whole experience that you went through is that communication could have been much better, and that would have improved the patient experience for you. Even though your experience turned out fairly well, the patient experience and the patient satisfaction would have been much higher if they could have communicated better with you.
I agree with that. Communication. Because if you think about it, when you're laying there in the hospital, you have nothing else to think about but everything that's going on. So if you don't know what's going on, you got hours of laying there dwelling on what could be, or whatever's going through your head, and they can fix that pretty easy with just a couple minutes in the room telling you what's going on.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Thank you for your time.
Certainly.
That's our interview.
Yeah. Okay.